Hands on Traoré! Hands on Africa!
So we need to be paying attention to him, we need to be supporting him, and we need to be in unity around the principles that he's advocating for as a leader.
And he is standing up to AFRICOM, standing up to NATO, saying, U.S. out, we want to develop Africa for African people, not for the bankers on Wall Street who are not only keeping the people of Africa poor, but keeping people in this very city poor. Why are there so many homeless people in America? Why is our infrastructure falling apart? It's time that we hired the China Railway Company to build high-speed trains throughout the Midwest, connect Chicago to Washington, D.C. and to Los Angeles with high-speed railway. That's what we're talking about. We're saying it's time that we start having an education system that makes our kids smarter. We have social media apps that train our young people to be more confident and more physically fit. We need a government that invests in people, not a derivative rip-off government that makes profit from prison and war and death and destruction. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. And in Burkina Faso, this impoverished African country, they have such a government right now. They've got a builder, a man who believes that human beings are the source of real wealth in the world. And he is investing in his people, and they are raising up the population, raising up the life expectancy, raising up the living standards, raising up education, raising up healthcare, raising up access to a decent life. That's the kind of government we need here. A government of action that fights for working families. And they're keeping you poor in this country as well. It's an absolute disgrace. We need leadership like Ibrahim Traoré. We need programs that will allow people to raise children. We need people to have jobs and education in schools. We don't need to be starting war after war, bombing people in the Middle East, bombing people in Africa, funding terrorists in the Horn of Africa, and then banning people from coming here. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen. That auditorium is going to be packed. It holds 500. We think we can fill it. It's going to be a great event. So I hope you join us July 12th.
Long live Ibrahim Traoré! Long live Ibrahim Traoré! Long live Ibrahim Traoré! Long live Ibrahim Traoré!
It was actually really hectic trying to get the sign together.
He's not taking orders from anybody.
As you can see, it's kind of jerry-rigged up. We kind of didn't have the right stuff. We had to go back and forth to Home Depot 3 or 4 times, but it took us 2 hours to set up the banner. But the reaction's been pretty nice, right?
They want you to believe there's too many people in the world. Bullshit. We need more people because human beings, human labor power is the source of all wealth. We need a government that invests in people, provides people with jobs, provides people with health care, provides people with education, and builds and constructs. Don't invest in bombs, don't invest in prisons, invest in people, human beings, and our creativity. We are the source, and we need a pro-people government. And that's what Ibrahim Traoré is on the African continent. And that's why he's teaming up with China to build power plants. And that's why he's enabled thousands of Africans to become farmers and have their own orchards and have their own fields. Behind him, we have got whole fields of wealth. That's what.
Good people, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to dive deep into a fascinating event that recently stirred up quite buzz in Chicago. We're talking about a rally that was all about showing strong solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. This was not just any gathering, it was a powerful statement titled Chicago Rally for Ibrahim Traoré, Hands of Africa, building for July 12th, right? The atmosphere was electric, full of raw emotion and packed with incredible impactful messages. Chicago, a city known for its long history of activism and social movements, became a powerful stage for voices demanding nothing less than Africa's complete sovereignty. The core message here echoed loudly through the streets. Hands of Africa. This was not just your common slogan, it was a fervent plea and a firm demand for an end to all foreign interference in the continent's future. It was a clear declaration that Africa's people must be allowed to build their own destiny free from external influence. So, who exactly is this guy being defended? Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He's a remarkable figure, young military officer, who after 2 significant coups in 2022 stepped into the role of interim president. At just 37 years old, he became Africa's youngest leader, a fact that immediately set him apart His rise to power was marked by a series of incredible bold moves that sent ripples across the continent and beyond. Okay, one of his most immediate and decisive actions was the expulsion of French troops from Burkina Faso. This was a monumental step, severing a long-standing colonial tie, but he didn't stop there. He also expelled several prominent Western media outlets, including France 24, BBC, and Voice of America. He wasn't shy about his reasons, openly branding these organizations as agents of neocolonialism, accusing them of perpetuating narratives that undermine African self-determination. Beyond these expulsions, Traoré has been at the forefront of a major geopolitical shift for Burkina Faso. Take a look at this. He was instrumental in founding the Alliance of Sahel States, a strategic move designed to reorient the region's focus. This alliance represents a significant pivot away from traditional Western partners, particularly France, and towards new alliances with Russia and China. This strategic alignment signals a new era of diplomatic and economic partnerships for the Sahel region, and one that aims to foster greater self-reliance and diversified international relations. Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has embarked on what he terms as progressive and popular revolution. This ambitious vision is centered on creating a government that prioritizes and deeply invests in its own citizens, shifting resources away from conflict and towards human development. His administration has already taken tangible steps in this direction, right? For instance, he's overseen nationalization of gold mines, a move that is aiming at ensuring the country's natural resources directly benefits the common Burkinabe rather than foreign entities. We've also seen the construction of new factories, health centers, and clinics, all part of a concerted effort to revive critical infrastructure and significantly boost human development across the nation. Healthcare initiatives have been particularly impactful, with maternal healthcare now being completely free. This is a life-changing policy for so many families in Burkina Faso, ensuring access to vital medical services. Furthermore, agricultural initiatives are sparking a genuine farming boom, empowering local communities and actively looking to lift people out of poverty by strengthening the backbone of the economy. These combined efforts paint a picture of a leader committed to fundamental improvements in the lives of his citizens. At the Chicago rally, speakers passionately pushed back against narrative often presented by Western media, which frequently labels Traoré as a dictator. And on the contrary, they adamantly insisted that he is a visionary leader, actively fighting against the enduring grip of neocolonialism. The declarations were powerful and resonant. Africa will build its own table. No child eats last. Justice is for all. These striking claims aren't just empty words. They represent a profound challenge to centuries of foreign control and an assertion of Africa's right to self-determination, equitable distribution of resources on the global stage. Traoré's vision aligns with major international initiatives. He openly supports China's Belt and Road Initiative and Russia's Eurasian Economic Union. These partnerships are foundational to his economic philosophy, which advocates for a new economy rooted in real wealth, directly contrasting with what he views as the speculative, often volatile nature of Wall Street-centric financial systems. His approach emphasizes tangible assets and productive investments over abstract financial instruments. So the rally speakers in Chicago strongly urged the US to consider joining this burgeoning global Southeast movement. They argued that aligning with this new economic paradigm, which prioritizes real wealth and equitable development, will be far more beneficial than continuing to uphold what they branded as a fake Wall Street-centric system. This call for a shift in global economic allegiance highlighted a growing sentiment for a more balanced and a just international order.
We need a government like Ibrahim Traoré in America. That's what we need, a government of action that will fight for working families. So join us in Chicago, July 12th. Working families first, defeat the deep state for a new world of peace and innovation.
The most revolutionary thing to do, as Ibrahim Traoré is showing us, is to build. Not destroy, but build. We need to build our way out of this global crisis. We can't bomb our way out of it, right? They're trying, but the more they try, the more trouble they get their system into. They need to join the new system that is already being built. And that's the message of our conference.
Dare to struggle!
Dare to win!
Dare to struggle!
Dare to win!
Dare to struggle!
Dare to win! Ibrahim Traoré is the future of the African continent. He represents the African wing of the global anti-imperialist movement.
We see that he's providing health care for his people, he's putting people first, he cares about the infrastructure, he's creating systems so that people can thrive instead of being in poverty like we have here in this country.
So we are here telling people, hands off Africa. The colonialists need to mind their business.
Why is he a dictator in the mind of the American media? Well, because he cares about the people of Burkina Faso. Let me tell you what Ibrahim Traoré is doing. He has got agricultural projects. Burkina Faso is having a farming boom right now because of this great African leader. He has just made a law that any woman who has a child, her medical bills are completely eliminated. It's free to go to the doctor and have a child in Burkina Faso, in this African country, because mothers and maternal care is so important.
Not a criminal, he's just being there for his people.
And if we could just follow his example.
The forces that are trying to overthrow Ibrahim Traoré are the same forces that keep Americans poor. We want a prosperous America, not one that is so focused on maintaining the global economic system that our own citizens live in poverty.
He admires Gaddafi, he admires Patrice Lumumba, he admires all the great African leaders of the past, and we're here to say that American working people should look to Ibrahim Traoré as the kind of leadership we need. A builder, a constructor, someone who lifts people out of poverty, someone who stands with the new economy rising in the world of the BRICS with Russia and China.
Donald Trump, look at this man. Try to be like him. Don't be like Zelensky. Don't be a worm. Be a president like Ibrahim Traoré.
New economy emerging in the world, and it's based on real wealth. What China's doing with the Belt and Road Initiative, what Russia is doing with the Eurasian Economic Union, what is happening in Latin America with Bolivarianism, with the axis of resistance. There's a whole new economy. And this fake Wall Street derivative rip-off usury economy of Wall Street in London, that economy is the past. And the only future America is going to have is joining this new economy.
Imagine what we could have in this world just by doing what he's doing for his people.
What we need to do is get the United States to link up with this new economy in the global south and in the east, right? They lifted 1 billion people out of poverty in 20 years, right? We could be part of that. Instead, Donald Trump, on orders from Benjamin Netanyahu and the international banks, is trying to destroy that new system. No, we don't need to destroy it. We need to join it.
Having a really important event coming up on July 12th at the Midwest Convention Center in North Lake near the O'Hare Airport. We're going to have speakers talking about the Houthis and the Yemeni movement. We're going to have speakers talking about the Palestinians. We're going to have speakers talking about Africa and what's going on there. We're going to have speakers talking about the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. We're going to have music. We're going to have traditional dancers from the former Soviet Union. It's just going to be really amazing in so many ways.
Anti-imperialist speakers, cultural performers, dancers, music. It's going to be really special. 500 like-minded people.
If you can't make it, send us a donation to cover all the costs. It certainly costs a lot to rent out this big venue.
Right, so guys, listen up. While Traoré's bold moves and his youthful energy have certainly garnered a great deal of admiration, it's also important to acknowledge the criticisms and complexities surrounding his leadership. Critics often point to a worrying rise in violence since the coup. Data suggests that conflict-related deaths have more than doubled, and a significant portion of the country, over 60%, remains outside state control. This internal instability presents a major challenge to his ambitious vision. A piece in the Financial Times, for example, controversially labeled his rise as a cult of Saint Traoré, suggesting that propaganda and carefully created media imagery play a significant role in shaping public perception. So This brings us to the critical question: can bold rhetoric and rapid sweeping changes truly overcome deep-seated instability and bring lasting peace and prosperity to Burkina Faso? It's a complex situation with no easy answers, because take a look at Traoré's actions, such as seizing control of gold mines and reinvigorating state-owned enterprises, strongly echoes the legacy of Thomas Sankara, another revered revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. Just like Sankara, Traoré's progressive revolution actively rejects foreign debts and traditional banking structures, choosing instead to invest directly in his people and expand the volunteers, army, and critical infrastructure. So, you see, for this commitment to self-reliance and internal investment is a defining characteristic of his leadership. However, human rights advocates have raised serious concerns. They warn about the consolidation of military rule, potential crackdowns on media freedoms, and reports of critics being forced into service. These concerns highlight a delicate balance between strong leadership and the protection of fundamental human rights, a balance that Traoré's administration is constantly navigating to achieve. A major strategic pivot under Traoré has been Burkina Faso's shift in international alliances. Take for instance, in February 2023, the country closed all French military bases, a symbolic and practical break from its colonial past. This move was quickly followed by welcoming Russian advisors and paramilitaries, the reopening of the Moscow embassy, and the signing of significant nuclear cooperation agreements with Russia, including plans for a nuclear power plant that is to be built in Burkina Faso. This represents a substantial reorientation of its foreign policy, because while Russia has become a prominent partner, China also remains a key collaborator here. Documentation shows continued support from China in areas like infrastructure, development, and agricultural initiatives. Supporters of Traoré policies hail these shifts as a vital reassertion of national sovereignty, arguing that Burkina Faso is finally charting its own course. However, I find that sometimes critics express caution, warning about potential undue influence from Russia, with some specifically flagging the alleged involvement of one group as a point of concern. I hope everyone knows about one group here. So let's take a moment to compare Traoré's proposed alternative system with the existing global order. So here is Traoré's alternative system, a system that he follows. Invest heavily in schools, healthcare, and local farming, prioritizing human-centered policies and equitable development for its citizens. And lastly, actively rejecting foreign debt and reliance on traditional international banks. On the other hand, we have the existing global order, which suggests often driven by conflict with the primary focus on market expansion and resource extraction. It can also sometimes profit from instability and perpetuate unequal economic structures. And it often relies on the loans from institutions like the IMF and the influence of Wall Street. So, guys, I've given you the comparison and the reason as to why Traoré wants a free Burkina Faso, and why people took to the streets in Chicago to protest. So, tell me in the comments, do you think people in Chicago, do you think their time was worth it to go into the streets and protest for Africa to be free and to support Ibrahim Traoré? Tell me something in the comments, and most importantly, don't forget to like this video, turn on post notifications, share this video with your brother and sister, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. I've been your boy for today, Presenter Sam. I don't know what you think about this video, but tell me in the comments. I hope to see you next time. Peace out.